In the heart of Los Angeles, the rule of law was put to the test. Protesters opposing ICE, an agency tasked with upholding America's immigration laws, took to the streets. What started as a demonstration quickly devolved into a public safety threat, forcing the LAPD to take decisive action. Officers issued multiple warnings, orders to disperse were ignored, streets were blocked, public order was challenged, and yet, through it all, LAPD acted with professionalism, containing the chaos, minimizing harm, and enforcing the law. These protests may have been fueled by passion, but in America, passion does not override the Constitution. We are a nation of laws, and those laws protect not only our borders but our communities. ICE, often criticized, remains on the front lines defending American sovereignty. They enforce policies passed by Congress, not made in a vacuum. Their mission to protect citizens, ensure legal immigration, and uphold the values of safety and order. In the end, this wasn't about politics, it was about peace, order, and protecting the rights of all Americans. Because when chaos threatens the streets, it is our men and women in uniform who stand between us and disorder. Freedom isn't free. It requires responsibility, law, and sometimes hard choices. And today in Los Angeles, America chose law and order. On a warm afternoon in downtown Los Angeles, a group of protesters assembled under banners of resistance, demanding the dismantling of ICE and the cessation of deportations. They carried signs, they chanted slogans, and they marched through city streets. But beneath the surface of this so-called peaceful protest lay a different story. A story of defiance, disorder, and direct challenge to the nation's rule of law. As protesters blocked intersections, disrupted businesses, and refused police commands to disperse, the Los Angeles Police Department made a clear choice: to stand firm, to uphold their oath, and to protect the city. Because when disorder threatens peace, it is not just a protest, it is a public safety emergency. ICE, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, has become a political lightning rod. But you know, if you strip away the headlines, the emotions, and the narratives, and what remains is simple. ICE is an agency tasked with enforcing laws passed by elected officials. These are not rogue enforcers. These are Americans, serving America. Their job is to protect communities from violent criminals, enforce legal immigration standards, and prevent chaos at the border from spilling into the heartland. And yet, time and time again, they are vilified. Protesters chant "abolish ICE" as if national security were optional. They treat law enforcement as the enemy, forgetting that behind every badge is a father, a daughter, a neighbor. On this day in Los Angeles, law enforcement did not escalate the situation. They contained, they did not attack, they controlled, they did not provoke, they responded. After hours of non-compliance, police surrounded the crowd, issued formal dispersal orders, and ultimately declared an unlawful assembly. Mass arrests were authorized not out of vengeance but out of necessity, because, no free nation can allow its laws to be ignored, its officers to be challenged, or its streets to be seized. For too long, narratives have painted law enforcement as aggressors and protesters as heroes. But in a constitutional republic, heroism is measured by one's willingness to defend order, not destroy it. These officers stood in the heat, in the face of insults, in the face of resistance, carrying out a job that honestly few are willing to do, but many are quick to criticize. ICE agents aren't the villains. They are veterans, officers, immigrants themselves, sworn to protect a system built on fairness and structure. The idea that America should have no borders, no enforcement, and no standards is not progressive. It is, honestly, reckless. Let's be clear, protesting is a constitutional right, but blocking roads, ignoring police orders, and creating public endangerment is not protected expression, it is civil disobedience, and with it comes consequences. The protesters knew what they were doing. They were not caught off guard. They chose confrontation. The LAPD chose restraint. And at the end of the day, what happened in Los Angeles wasn't just about immigration. It was about the soul of a nation grappling with its identity. America is not perfect, no nation is. But, we are a country founded on ideals. On liberty, on responsibility. On the belief that the rule of law applies equally to all. That is what separates us from chaos. That is what keeps our democracy intact. In the streets of Los Angeles, the answer was clear. Order prevailed, law was enforced, and for now, America stood strong. But to truly understand what happened on the streets of Los Angeles during the ICE protest standoff, we must take a step back and see the bigger picture. This wasn't just a spontaneous flash mob of angry youth. This was part of a growing movement across America. A movement that seeks not only to defund, dismantle, or protest immigration enforcement, but to fundamentally redefine what borders, laws, and national identity even mean. The United States of America has always been a nation of immigrants, but also a nation of laws. That balance has made us exceptional. Millions have come here legally, through a process with respect for the system. It's not perfect, it never has been. But it exists for a reason. Without rules, we don't have compassion, we have chaos. Protesters today chant slogans like "No borders, no nations," unaware or unwilling to admit that those very ideas are a direct threat to the stability that allows protests to exist in the first place. Try chanting those words in countries without democratic protections, and you'll find out quickly how fragile freedom can be. What happened in LA was not the beginning, it was a continuation. Cities like Portland, Seattle, New York, and yes, Los Angeles have all seen moments where street-level politics and ideology collide with the men and women charged with keeping order. And every time the question rises again, do we support those who enforce the law, or do we tear them down in the name of rage? When the LAPD declared the protest an unlawful assembly, they didn't do it lightly. These are officers who train for de-escalation. Officers who are held under the microscope every single day. Officers who wake up in the morning not knowing if they'll come home at night. Yet they are judged instantly. By strangers online, by edited videos lacking context, by narratives crafted in echo chambers. But these men and women aren't robots. They're not machines. They're Americans. They have stories, families, dreams, just like everyone else. In the middle of the standoff, one officer reportedly knelt next to a crying protester not to arrest them, but to calm them. "You're not the enemy," he said, "but we have to do our jobs. That's not the act of a monster, that's the act of a public servant." The national conversation has reached a boiling point. Trust in institutions is under fire. From immigration policy to local policing, everyone has an opinion, but few have solutions. What's forgotten in the noise is this: no society can function without boundaries. Not just physical but moral, legal, and civil boundaries. ICE, for all its criticism, exists because there are laws to be enforced. Those laws are not made in secret, they are debated in Congress, signed by presidents, and upheld by courts. If Americans want change, there's a process: elections, petitions, legislation. But circumventing the law through chaos in the streets, that's not democracy, that's anarchy. The protest in Los Angeles could have been peaceful. It could have sent a message without confrontation. But, it escalated. Protesters ignored dispersal orders. They blocked traffic, preventing ambulances and city workers from doing their jobs. That is not civil disobedience, that is obstruction. And when police responded, calmly, by the book, and with overwhelming restraint, they were met with hostility, cameras in their faces, and chants that labeled them as fascists. All for doing what taxpayers pay them to do: keep the peace. America is not perfect, no patriot claims it is, but our strength lies in our willingness to improve while defending the foundation that holds us together. Law, order, structure, these aren't oppressive, they are necessary. In moments like these, we must ask ourselves hard questions. Do we want a nation with clear laws and secure borders, or a free-for-all that ignores sovereignty? Do we want officers who are respected and supported, or constantly vilified and second-guessed? Do we want dialogue or destruction? The protest in Los Angeles ended with arrests, yes. But more importantly, it ended with proof that America still has the backbone to stand up for its institutions. That our cities will not be handed over to mob rule. That our officers, even in the face of hostility, will uphold their oath. This country belongs to all Americans, natural-born, immigrant, young, old. But with rights come duties. The right to protest does not erase the duty to obey the law. And as the dust settles in Los Angeles and headlines fade, one thing remains clear: the United States will continue to be a nation of laws, a nation that defends its borders, protects its people, and honors those who serve. Because at the end of the day, being pro-law isn't anti-people, being pro-America isn't anti-progress. It's about knowing that freedom must be guarded, and sometimes guarding it means standing firm, even when it's unpopular.